You're listening to the Relationships Uncomplicated podcast. Relationship advice so valuable, you won't believe it's free. And now your host, relationship expert, Idit Sharoni.
Welcome back to another episode of Relationships Uncomplicated podcast, episode 79. I'm your host, Idit Sharoni. And today I have some special guests, and together we will discuss and try to help you understand more about this question. How can someone who loves me betray me? A question I often hear from my clients. Being with couples in those life-changing moments as they heal from infidelity lets me witness their deepest challenges and uncertainties. This question comes up for many of my hurt partners who find it so hard to accept the duality of love and lack of loyalty. As a therapist and a human, I understand this enormous doubt. Growing up and living in modern society, we've been able to develop our committed relationships into bonds like never before. Relationships today provide far more than a last name. That led us also to gain a sense of security in our relationships, which led us to believe we are safer than we really are. And here we are, experiencing more infidelity than ever before. We redefined love, loyalty, and directly connected them like never before. Therefore, we live in a world where love equals many things. Loyalty is definitely one of them. And today, I invited my team at Relationship Experts to discuss this and even offer you tips on how to better handle this difficult dilemma. If you are in the aftermath of infidelity and considering staying with your partner, you probably grappled with this question. Having this as a question and not a statement actually puts you in good position to deepen your understanding. And we are committed to helping you do that today. So what we'll do is discuss all of this, and as always, provide you with some tips right after this sponsorship message. This episode is sponsored by my infidelity recovery and healing program, It's Okay to Stay. If you're struggling in the aftermath of infidelity, but want to stay together, you can rebuild trust and heal through genuine expert help from me and my team personally. I started It's Okay to Stay after seeing couples therapy and self-help options often lacked essential components to help couples save their relationship after infidelity. It's Okay to Stay is a complete 8-week coaching program that involves an online roadmap course and one-on-one work with an affair recovery specialist. So if you have faith in your relationship and you want to stay together and heal, let's talk. I'm offering a 45-minute free consultation for couples who want to save their relationship and need expert help. If that's you, just go online to iditsharoni.com/45 and pick a time for a video call that both you and your partner can commit to. I'll hop on. We're first going to start with understanding your struggle, and then we're going to walk through It's Okay to Stay to see if the program is right for you. Look, so many couples try therapy and self-help methods only to be put at odds with each other. But that doesn't have to be you. With expert help, It's Okay to Stay will give you the clarity that you need to understand each other, to heal, and to find a path forward past infidelity. So again, all you have to do to book your free consultation is to go to iditsharoni.com/45. That's iditsharoni.com/45. I'll be honored to stand alongside with you on this journey. So we are back. I want to welcome my team of experts, Yael, Anna, and Alana, who will help me discuss this and offer their tips to you. Thank you all for being here and willing to share your wisdom with my listeners. I'll introduce each one of you separately. So Yael, say hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. So Yael is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's also a PhD, and specializes in relationships and affair recovery. Anna de la Cruz, say hi, Anna.
Hi.
Hi. So, and Anna is also a licensed marriage and family therapist. She also specializes in relationships and affair recovery. Both Anna and Yael are on the infidelity recovery program team as experts, and both of them have over a decade of experience. That goes for each one of them separately. I also want to welcome Alana Tokayer. Say hi.
Hi, everyone.
Alana is our marriage and family therapy intern and our program specialist. Alana specializes in relationships and affair recovery as well. She's also the person with all the information about our program, and she is the person that interviews our couples when they want to join the program. So if you choose to do that, you're probably going to meet Alana before. You can find more information about each one of our team members on our website. That's relationshipexperts.com and relationshipexpertsonline.com. So without further ado, let me start by asking you, Alana, what are you noticing that happens to hurt partners in this healing journey when it comes to trying to understand not only why, but also how come? And if you could also give our listeners a tip, and I know that you have one, I think that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So what I've noticed is that this topic that we're discussing today is absolutely one of the most difficult things for a betrayed partner to wrap his or her mind around in the aftermath of infidelity. The looming question is, how can my partner claim they loved me and yet they hurt me so badly? How can those two things be true at the same time? It just seems unfathomable. And what I've seen is many hurt partners can't reconcile this in their minds. And so they feel forced to conclude that their partner who was unfaithful must not have loved them. And this is obviously an incredibly painful conclusion to come to. And it makes the idea of healing feel completely unreachable. And by the way, I think it's worth mentioning that often the unfaithful partner is just as confused by his or her actions, right? I love my partner. I never stopped loving my partner. So how could I have done this? This is the conundrum. But despite it feeling like a complete contradiction, an impossibility, it actually is possible that your partner loved you very deeply even and still betrayed you. In fact, so much of healing from infidelity is coming to a place where you can accept that things you never thought could coexist actually can. So, for example, a hurt partner wanting to be held by her partner who was unfaithful and wanting to push him away at the same time, or a hurt partner wanting to know every detail of the affair and also feeling like she just can't handle one more piece of information, right? These are examples of things that feel contradictory, but that coexist. So this topic we're talking about today, how can my partner love me and betray me, is another example of what feels like a complete contradiction, but it's a big one. And it's probably the toughest to make sense of. Why? Why is it so hard to wrap our minds around? For many of us, we're privileged to have lived lives where the people who love us don't hurt us. On the contrary, the people who love us are our protectors, our comforters, our greatest sources of safety and security in the world, our go-tos, our safe havens. So for many of us, this concept of someone who loves us hurting us is just foreign. For others of us, we've unfortunately experienced a person loving us and hurting us before, but still, it cuts really deep when it's your chosen person, your best friend, your everything. So how can it be? How can we make sense of it? Well, love is not so simple. We use the term love to mean a lot, right? I love pizza. I love my job. I love my children. This is the same word carrying such different depths of meaning. So first, we need to keep in mind that love in general is oversimplified. It's actually really complex. And second, we need to understand the components of love in a marriage or long-term relationship. Feeling love is one, and acting in a way that protects that love is another. And these are two entirely different things: feeling love and acting in a way that protects that love. So often we assume that one necessarily follows the other. I feel love, so my actions will obviously protect that love, but it's just not true. An unfaithful partner may very well have loved you all along, but because of a multitude of other reasons, did not act in a way that protected that love. So a big part of the healing journey is understanding that feeling love in a relationship, while extremely important and necessary, is not enough. It's not enough to sustain a healthy relationship, and it's clearly not enough to shield a couple from infidelity. Instead, both partners must feel love and act in ways that protect the love. We take the latter for granted, but not anymore. Protecting love requires intentionality, commitment, loyalty, consistent action and effort, communication, having the hard conversations, empathy, and more. And this is why healing from infidelity can, if done properly, lead to an enhanced relationship, a better relationship than what you had before. Because in your new relationship, you will not only understand the importance of feeling love, but you will also be way more conscientious about acting in ways that protect that love.
Yes. I can't agree more. I mean, this is so true, not just thinking about love as this thing that just happens and is more passive, but actually we can be actively protecting our love. The fact that we have feelings for another person doesn't mean it's protected. And we're going to continue to talk about this even more, but thank you so much for drawing our attention to this really, really important piece of love. And I'm wondering, I don't know if I kind of cut you off in the middle of your thoughts, or do you have anything else that you wanted to add about this?
Absolutely. So I was going to share a tip. So what can
Yes.
what can you do, right, while this question is looming? My tip is patience. Both partners, and in particular the hurt partner, need time to adjust to the idea that someone who loves you can also hurt you. It's probably not just going to click one day. It's a process and it takes time. And yet we know it's so common for our hurt partner to be consumed by this question. So my advice is, let the question sit. Let it be. It doesn't need to make sense right now. It's not supposed to. And very importantly, try not to feel discouraged by it. Not understanding it right now does not mean you won't be able to move forward in your healing. So relieve yourself of the pressure to reconcile it right now. And just know that in due time, with proper healing, it will start to make more and more sense.
Yes, let it sit. I mean, this is really, really important. And probably one of the hardest things to do when we are in a situation, to let, this difficult question and dilemma just sit. But it's true. And I find myself telling my clients all the time that we're going to have to learn to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's really, really uncomfortable. And just sometimes staying with it, and letting answers come to you. And when you let answers come to you, they come to you. When you try to go for answers, and they'll get away from you. At least that's been my experience with couples. So I think that's a wonderful tip. Thank you so much, Alana.
Absolutely.
So to continue to develop and talk about this, I was wondering, Anna, from your experience, how do you handle this question? Because I'm sure couples, ask you, or hurt partners come to you, or, they either ask you in your meetings, or sometimes they're going to ask you after the meetings. How can that be? How can someone who loves me, who says who loves me, betray me? How do you handle this question if it's asked by your clients?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here, Idit. It's a pleasure
Thank you for
to
being
be
here.
here with you. And I have to say, I hear this question many times from my clients. There's really not one answer for it. And it all depends on the situation. This question usually comes from a place of trying to understand what happened, trying to put the pieces together. We have already acknowledged the amount of pain and confusion that takes place after a betrayal is discovered. The hurt partner is trying to make sense of what happened. One thing that I have noticed, though, is that as long as this is a question and not a statement, we can work towards healing. There's room for possibilities. And it's absolutely okay to ask this question. Nonetheless, when this question becomes a statement, there's not much one can do because the person has already made up their mind. And there is no possibility for love in the midst of betrayal. They're basically telling themselves, you don't love me, and that's why you hurt me. And it's very difficult to change that mindset. You see, in my experience, I have heard many different definitions of love. Many of us grew up believing that love and loyalty are entangled with each other. Somehow we believe that one cannot exist without the other. However, sometimes we see people in committed jobs that they really dislike, but they are loyal to their job, loyal to their career, even though it turned out to be something that they don't love at all. So it seems that perhaps you can be loyal and not love at the same time. On the other hand, we see people that love their jobs, love what they do, but end up leaving for different reasons. So a possible way to explain this is that loyalty can stand on its own sometimes, not necessarily in an entanglement with love. And of course, there are many more examples and experiences when it comes to love and loyalty. But I want to stress here that regardless of what we believe about loyalty and love, there will never, ever be an answer that could possibly justify the action of betrayal. And this is what makes this question a difficult one.
Mm-hmm.
Is the fact that the person asking this question is hurting, it's in pain. And he or she is evaluating the relationship, the love, the life that they had. Infidelity does that to people. It shatters everything that they thought they knew. And of course, they're going to ask questions. And many of those questions don't have distinctive answers. The relationship they thought they had is no longer there. Nonetheless, we can choose to rebuild a new one. You see, I like the way Esther Perel explains it. She says that in this life, we're going to have several relationships. And some of us will choose to have those relationships with the same person. And she's right, because infidelity will break a relationship. But it also can give you an opportunity to rebuild a new and improved one. Sometimes if you're able to move through the difficult healing phases, you see an opportunity to redesign your relationship to one that fulfills your needs and boundaries. We live in Florida, right? And right now it's hurricane season. When a storm comes, it has the potential to destroy a house, right? And if you were unlucky and it happened to you, sometimes you have a choice. You can rebuild or you can leave and find a new home. If we decide to stay and rebuild, we get a chance to design it. We get to say what goes where we want the rooms to be, where we would like the lights to go, what kind of fence we want to put around it, what kind of protections we want in place. It doesn't take away the fact that the process of rebuilding can be very daunting. It takes a lot of work, and sometimes it seems endless. There's dust everywhere, walls are down, and piles of tools and trash everywhere. But see, little by little, we begin to see the structure of the home once again. And things begin to make sense. We begin to see the fruit of our labor. But even when the home is completed, right? If we want that home to look wonderful all the time, we must take care of it. We must repair it when things break. So it's an ongoing conscious work. But at the end of the day, you're home, in the home that you always wanted to be. Relationships in the aftermath of infidelity can be similar, difficult to rebuild. It takes time, effort, and a lot of work. But at the end of the day, you are where your heart desires to be. You are with the person that you choose to be with. I had this wonderful experience. Indeed, one of my program participants told his spouse at the end of the program, he said, "Thank you for staying. I would choose you over and over again." It was a beautiful view into the new house that they had rebuilt together. It was not easy, and there was a lot of pain, but I was able to see the beginning of a new relationship where appreciation and admiration was their new culture.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I handle this question with couples really depends on the specific love story and how open they are to examine the option that this very love existed alongside this loyalty.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. I think that, trying to understand one disaster through a different disaster can give sometimes people an understanding of, the things that we don't always connect, right? So staying in a home that was wrecked by a storm, it can be easier for us to imagine, right? And then staying in a relationship that was wrecked by infidelity is so much harder. And this question comes up, right? And so thank you for making it, clear. And I think that what you also did here is you took Alana's tip where she suggested, I don't know if that was your actual tip, but the one you mentioned before is, it's not just having the love, it's protecting it, actions that protect that love. And Anna, what you did is you said, yeah, it's not just about rebuilding this house. It's about continuing to actively protect your house and protect your love. And I love that message. And I think, it's absolutely true. Okay. So, hi, Yael. I know that, you probably, you're one of the people that I think has a very, very different way of understanding relationships. And that is so helpful to your couples. And I want to ask you about maybe some ways you use with your clients to rethink the love loyalty paradigm. And I know you also have a tip for our listeners, something that they can actually implement while listening, right? So all of this will come right after this sponsorship message. This episode is sponsored by my infidelity recovery and healing program, It's Okay to Stay. If you're struggling in the aftermath of infidelity, but want to stay together, you can rebuild trust and heal through genuine expert help from me and my team personally. I started It's Okay to Stay after seeing couples therapy and self-help options often lacked essential components to help couples save their relationship after infidelity. It's Okay to Stay is a complete 8-week coaching program that involves an online roadmap course and one-on-one work with an affair recovery specialist. So if you have faith in your relationship and you want to stay together and heal, let's talk. I'm offering a 45-minute free consultation for couples who want to save their relationship and need expert help. If that's you, just go online to iditsharoni.com/45 and pick a time for a video call that both you and your partner can commit to. I'll hop on. We're first going to start with understanding your struggle, and then we're going to walk through It's Okay to Stay to see if the program is right for you. Look, so many couples try therapy and self-help methods only to be put at odds with each other. But that doesn't have to be you. With expert help, It's Okay to Stay will give you the clarity that you need to understand each other, to heal, and to find a path forward past infidelity. So again, all you have to do to book your free consultation is to go to iditsharoni.com/45. That's iditsharoni.com/45. I'll be honored to stand alongside with you on this journey. Okay, so we are back. So Yael, continuing with the same idea Anna suggested, what are some ways to rethink the question, how can someone who loves me betray me? How do you guide your couples struggling with this?
Yes. So again, thank you for having me. And we all know this is the $1 million question. It comes a lot with our clients. And I really agree with Alana and Anna in the way they orient themselves around this question. But before I answer how I go about it with my clients, I really want to reiterate the context of our discussion, our conversation. It's not about a general discussion about our philosophy or about how we, the relationship between loyalty and love. Okay, this is a specific conversation about how to navigate around this type of questions, how to create an atmosphere of healing, how to promote connection between the partners. So this is very important for me to just set the stage before I talk about how I see this question and how I talk about it with my clients. I think it's very normal, very common question or assumptions to have for the hurt partner to ask this type of questions. It makes a lot of sense to me, and this chaos is after the storm, as Anna said, makes sense that there can be a hunting question for the hurt partner, and as Alana said, it can either be a hunting question for the unfaithful partner. What I've noticed, although it makes so much sense to me that people think that way, I noticed that my clients tend to ask this question and orient themselves around three different types of thinking. So the first type of thinking would be either or thinking. Either my client loves me or not. Okay, so this is one type of thinking. The other one is if then. If my partner betrayed me, then my partner doesn't love me. And the last one is all or nothing type of thinking. And usually people have this image, the list of what confirmed the love. So if not all the items in that list exist, then there is no love. So those three, either or, if then, all or nothing, usually go hand in hand. They usually go together, and they're very destructive. And when I say that they're very destructive, they're destructive to the healing process. Again, I'm going back to the healing process. And when you think about it, it can create this never-ending loop. Okay, so my clients can have a wonderful progress to figure out how to heal, and then this question comes back again, and they go back to the loop. So how to orient yourself around this type of question? How to avoid, for example, the either or, like if my partner loves me, if my partner, betrayed me, then they don't love me, or ask this type of question. So the first thing I want to say, I want to challenge those three types of thinking, to challenge the if, then, either or, all or nothing. It's not a linear cause and effect situation, okay? Aftermath of infidelity, managing betrayal is a very complex, multi-layered experience. And if you just look about it in like an either or way, then no wonder you get stuck. So this is the first thing I want people to think about, how they can challenge this type of three types of questions. The other thing is I want to invite our listener to think about this question in a way that things can coexist. And I think Alana mentioned it earlier. We call it both and thinking. Both my partner can love me and at the same time hurt me or betray me. So things can coexist. I know it can be confusing, but when you let yourself to think in that way, you open a door, you open a possibility to explore more in depth what had happened, right? Like Anna said, what happened in our relationship that we got to that place? And usually what I notice when my clients move from this either or thinking, when they allow themselves the possibility for further exploration, when they understand it's multi-layered and complex, then they're able to thoroughly explore what had happened in their relationship. And then they usually discover that love is not enough. And they usually discover that they thought that love was their immune system. They thought that their relationship is bulletproof, and they realize it's not enough. And then they start, figure out how they want their relationship to look like, and go off Anna's metaphor of the destroy house. They have the opportunity to create their own understanding of their relationship, to remodel it or to create it from scratch, to repair it from scratch, if it makes sense. This is the way I relate to it.
Yes. Okay. This is like I anticipated,
It's a lot.
it is, no, it's just a different way of thinking. It's like a mind shift. It's like, going away from thinking that the problem or the issue can be this or that, into a mindset of it can be both.
Yeah.
I find that it's one of the hardest things for us as human beings growing up, again, in this specific society where there's a lot of dichotomy, there's a lot of good and bad, a lot of very concrete thinking, into a more dynamic, more abstract type of thinking where things can happen at the same time. So difficult for all of us, and definitely for people who go through this crisis. When you're in crisis, you're not going to try to find, the abstract thinking of ways of thinking about it. You're going to hold on to whatever gives you any certainty, right?
Absolutely.
And what we are asking you, our listeners, is to see if you can maybe not try to hold on to the certainties, because there aren't. The world does not work like that, right? And you know that. It's just harder to believe it right now because you're in crisis. And what we're asking you is to open yourself up to the option that maybe it's not that certain, that maybe your partner, the one who betrayed you, also loved you throughout.
Yeah.
And with that, I will say that sometimes that is not the case. There are very, a lot of situations where partners who betray their partners did not, or stopped loving them, or never loved them, or, there can be a lot of other options. But the ones that we work with, the ones that we get to help, are mostly those who really are there to rebuild their relationship because they love one another and they really want to be together, and they have a lot of good reasons to be together, right? They have a very rich life. They have kids and family. They like each other. So they have really good reasons to want to stay together. And especially if you're in this situation, what happens is that you tell yourself, oh no, like everything I thought about my partner's love for me, I don't know if I can believe it anymore. And what we're asking you is to just open yourself up for now to the option that those two things, the betrayal and the love, can coexist. And we see that a lot, and that's why we say that, right? This is not from a place of, sitting there in the Olympus and kind of like sprinkling, positivity on people. We're very much against that. We really don't like the toxic positivity culture. We're saying it from literally sitting with you, being in the trenches with you when you're struggling with this. And our understanding comes from the ability to witness exactly the depths of despair that people go through, the depths of their questions and their challenges, and having the privilege of sitting with a couple in those situations tells us a lot. We learn a lot from it, right? And so that's why we're able to zoom out now and give you all the information and what we've learned from this. So that's amazing. I know, Yael, that you also have a I don't know if you call it a tip, but
way of
it's
thinking.
something that people can actually
Practice.
practice. Okay, a practice.
And going over what you just said, it's not about how to answer that question, okay? Because again, it's a very difficult question to answer, like Alana and Anna talked about, is how to think about that question. Okay, so it's how to orient yourself about this type of question, because it's such a devastating thought that your partner doesn't love you. And how can you move on? How can you heal if you think that your partner doesn't love you? So basically, the exercise that I want to invite our listener to practice is not to answer this question, is how to help them dissolve the harshness of this question. So they'll be able to explore, to open their vision, to explore further. Does it make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I think this would be one of the best things that you can do to really open yourself up. When we said open yourself up, this is how you open yourself up.
How do we open the door? How do we open the gate for further description, further exploration, and create the atmosphere of healing? This is the goal here. So if you're not driving, and if you're not jogging, and you listen to us and you're able to close your eyes, go ahead and do that. You don't have to. It's just something to think about. You can think about with your eyes closed or not. But I want to invite you to think about this question that we're talking about today. How can someone who loves me betrays me? Or you can think about the assumption, if my partner cheated on me, he or she doesn't love me. This is an assumption that if you imagine this kind of questions, and if you imagine this type of assumptions, you can recognize that it faces you with a wall. Okay, think about that wall. It's a wall that you can run into again and again, and it throws you all the way back. And when you think about that wall that this type of question creates, think about how high is it, this wall? What material this wall made of? Can you climb it? Can you walk around it? Can you go through it? And when you organize your thoughts around either or thinking, or if then, or all or nothing, this wall can get very, very high and can be very rigid or hard to go through or around. It can be a concrete wall. So when you're thinking about this question, when you think about this assumption, and you have this image of the wall in front of you that you hit again and again, I want you to take the time and think, what can help you to change the material of that wall? What can help you to change the height of that wall? How can you change it from concrete wall to a brick wall? How can you take brick after brick after brick so you can digest this type of question when you can have the possibility to explore more in depth? How can you create a door in that wall so you can open a door for further exploration? When you think about changing the material and when you think about changing the height, I invite you to also think what can happen for you, what type of questions you can ask, what type of assumptions you can have, that slowly, that wall eventually become a transparent curtain, when you can still have that question, but it's not that intimidating. It's not limiting. You're not dictated by this type of question because it's just a transparent curtain. So if you notice this exercise, this process helps you to visualize rethinking this question. It's not going to help you answer it, but just orient a little different around it. And if you, with your eyes closed, you can open your eyes right now, or you can practice it by yourself. You can just use it when you want to consider reorienting yourself around this type of questions. I hope it's helpful in a way and makes sense.
Yes. I think it's super helpful. Sometimes what we cannot do when we're using our conscious mind, we can do maybe when we're not necessarily using it. So sometimes closing your eyes or just getting yourself in a place that is, I am not just going to use my frontal, my thought process right now. I'm going to turn it off a little bit, and I'll just allow things to happen, and use this idea of wall. I love the idea because that's exactly what it is. The concrete thinking is a concrete wall.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And how can we make it more abstract? And you, with our mind, we can literally make miracles. You can turn a concrete wall you keep bumping into to a, curtain. And maybe you can do it immediately, or maybe you can do it gradually. So maybe at first it's not going to be, like you said, a brick wall. Maybe there's a door there. Maybe it can be a wall of made of plastic. Maybe it can be, and gradually allow yourself to entertain more possibilities. So I love the idea, and thank you so much for letting our listeners taste a little bit of what we do with them. Anything you guys want to say, maybe Alana or Anna, about this exercise, or about anything that you want to add before we wrap up?
I just love the idea, Yael, about not being so caught up with trying to answer the question, but think about how you're thinking about it. That to me is such an important takeaway. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and it's not easy. And I always want to remind our listeners that what we're talking about, it's not a quick fix. It's not easy. It's a process. It's gradual. It takes time to think about those type of things in a different way.
Anna, you were saying something.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that I couldn't agree more, right? And it's going to be very different to everyone. Everyone experiences the situations very different. So this is a great tip, and it's a great start, right, to reorient yourself around this very difficult question.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are very close to ending this podcast episode. I really hope you've learned something new, or maybe it opened your mind up to more possibilities. Feel free to re-listen, because I think there's a lot of information here that for us, is very obvious. And I think when you first listen to it, it can be a little too much. And so feel free to repeat, this again and again, and, so that you get everything out of it. I have to say that although I know my team very well, I'm always in awe of how talented you are. Your ability to understand complex situations while providing helpful guidance, to couples. It's not something I see every day. So thank you for willing to try to answer one of the hardest and more complex questions we get in our practice. And to you, dear listeners, I hope this was helpful. I hope you will use the tips from Anna, Alana, and Yael. I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day or evening. And please don't forget to rate the show on your podcast or wherever podcast platform you're using, so it can get to as many couples as possible. I can't wait for our next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.